Do you want to make your money work for you? Look, everyone has seen online the gurus that are like, get into day trading and cryptocurrency and NFTs and all this other stuff. And you see all these people hitting the jackpot on flipping NFTs. Look, sometimes I wonder, and sometimes it makes you wonder, can normal people actually still make millions without having to do any of this crazy stuff? In this video, I want to show you that it is possible to make millions in your life with investing. It's not going to be quick, but hopefully this video can help it be a little more simple and maybe even easy. All that being said, this is my guide to investing, starting with just $1,000. And hey, if you're looking for a specific course of action, if you have any questions about specific funds or things like that, drop them in the comments below. But I will say, if you're looking to get into the finance space, consider seeking professional help or just taking responsibility for the do-it-yourself approach. For me, that's what I'm doing. I'm just doing the DIY approach, and I'm learning as I go. So that is, again, I'm just some guy on the internet, but I have been investing, and I have been invested in learning about personal finance for the past 5 years. So let's go ahead and hop in today's video. Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Gray here. Welcome back to another video. And as I said, we're talking about investing today. So I want to lay out this how-to guide for beginners on how to invest in 2025, starting with just $1,000. But there's a few things we need to go over before we can actually get to actually opening an account and depositing money. So what can you actually invest in? There is a whole list. There's stocks, bonds, mutual funds, real estate, retirement accounts, commodities, CDs, cryptocurrencies, NFTs, alternative investments, precious golds, precious metals, peer-to-peer investing, tips, index funds, ETFs, fine art, watches, fixed annuities. There's so many things that you could possibly be investing in. But with so many options on what you can be investing in, well, okay, yes, it is important to have a diversified portfolio. But if you're putting money into things that are going to crash, or worse, you're putting money into things you don't understand, you're doomed to fail from the beginning. And with that being said, you need to be investing. You can't save your way to wealth. You can't save it all in a savings account and then boom, you're going to be wealthy. We were just taught in school to get a cushy job that pays you boatloads of money, that gives you a raise once every 17 years, and then gives you benefits like a 401k match for 0.01%. And then boom, at the age of 75, you can retire. Look, okay, I understand that that's an exaggeration, but that's at least what I was taught was, hey, you need to go get a job with lots of benefits, use those benefits to retire, and when you're 65 or 70, you can actually enjoy the little bit of money you saved up. No one ever laid out any parameters. No one gave me specific names for the accounts that I need to be in. No one explained to me the how-to. So that's what I want this video to be. With investing, there are so many different avenues that you can take. It's kind of up to you how you want to get there. But there are some proven methods that really can assure that you will reach those millions of dollars and that financial goal. So choosing your investments early is definitely the best way to ensure that you're not dying on the Walmart floor. The way we get to having millions and millions in our portfolios is by starting now and then investing consistently over time. It is said that the best time to invest was 20 years ago, but the second best time is right now. And so let's not waste any more time and let's jump into this. Oh, and one more thing. There is a phrase that says time in the market is better than timing the market. And I want to kind of explain what that means. In order to do that, we kind of need to compare the short-term versus long-term goals and investing. So let's talk about short term. So there's a couple pros and cons for both of these. In short term, at least, there's a few pros, and I want to tread lightly here. There are quick returns. There is a possibility that if you time the market correctly, you can walk away with some quick cash. There's also liquidity. Most short-term trades have to be made with either cash or liquid assets, kind of like crypto. And so there is that. There is some liquidity in the market. And then because they're actively managed, you can interact with them. And so you have a familiarity with the market. You understand what's going on, and it can kind of get you excited. It can be rewarding. And there is a lot of flexibility. If you see the market going one specific way, you can kind of counteract that with your trades. There are a lot of cons here, though. There is a higher risk that you're going to lose it all. There is also a lot of tax implications. You're going to end up paying higher taxes on short-term capital gains. And then on top of that, if you're trading, you're definitely going to be having to pay higher fees than if you're just doing long-term investment. Oh, and don't forget to mention, it is so stressful. At least for me, if I've ever had to pick a single stock, I have to watch it every day, see how it's performing, decide, do I want to stay in, do I want to get out? And for a day trader or somebody who's trying to do this in the short term, that can get really stressful when you're bouncing around multiple different stocks. So then let's talk about long-term investing. There are a lot of pros here. There's compound growth. The more time that you are in the market, the more time you give these stocks to grow, the more likely you are to have a higher return. There's a lot of compound growth. Then on top of that, there's lower risk. You are far less likely to lose everything in long-term investments. There's also tax efficiency. So there's a lot of accounts with long-term investing that offer zero tax or very low tax on the money when it's taken out. There's also just less stress. It's more of an autopilot. You can just set it and go. I will say there are a handful of cons with this. You do have to be patient. It does take a lot of time to get these returns. There is an opportunity cost. So if you're putting your money into these things that are long-term investments, that money is tied up for years, maybe even decades, that you can't touch unless you're willing to take on the penalties. And then also market changes. If anything does change in the market, those long-term investments are going to feel it. And if anything changes more permanently, it will affect your state. To simplify all of what I just said, while some people might get benefits out of short-term trading, the studies that have been done, over 90% of the time, short-term trading does not outperform more passive funds. And so if you're trying to beat the market, I don't want to discourage you from trying, but I do. You're going to fail. It is almost guaranteed that you're going to fail. Best you're looking to do is just match the market. So typically, it is better to go after funds like VOO or VFIAX or FXAIX. Oh, okay, that's a mouthful, which is Vanguard and or Fidelity's version of the S&P 500. And hey, since this is a video about investing, I do want to explain what the S&P 500 is because it is referenced a lot here in the finance and investing community. The S&P 500 is a stock market index that measures the performance of the 500 largest publicly traded companies in the US. It is often used as a benchmark to gauge the overall health of the stock market and the economy. If the S&P goes up, it generally means that those companies are doing well, and if it goes down, they may be struggling. Basically, if you have a pie with 500 slices and one of those slices gets bigger, the overall value of the pie gets bigger. But if one of those slices gets less valuable, the overall value of the pie gets less valuable. And then apply that to 500 of the biggest companies in the United States, Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, things like that. When those companies are doing well and their stock price goes up, the overall value of the S&P 500 goes up, which is where we get the benchmark of how the entire stock market is doing because they make up a bulk of the stock market in the US market. Another beautiful thing about this is if you buy into a fund like the S&P 500 or a counterpart or a mock-up of it like VOO, basically all that means is now you don't have to go individually buy a piece of Apple, a piece of Microsoft, a piece of Nvidia. You already just own parts of it. And another thing this accomplishes is it's actually diversifying your portfolio. The S&P 500 is made up of different percentages of the actual overall market. So you're in real estate, you're in agriculture, you're in technology. It's spread out so that if one market is dipping and one market is going up, overall it's going to balance out. It typically goes up. A safe rate to assume is 8%. It can average a little bit better depending on what years you're looking at to compare to. And maybe if you time it correctly, you can get a little bit higher. But for the most part, if you just consistently put money into something like the S&P 500 over a long enough period of time, you are almost guaranteed to have good results historically. So, as you can tell, for myself, I like long-term investing, mostly because hey, I want to interrupt your regularly scheduled programming really quick, and I want to explain what you need to worry about before we actually invest. Because I know a lot of people are watching this video, and they're like, I want to get rich, I want to invest, but then they have mountains of debt and no cash. Look, we need to talk about this. There are two things that almost all financial advisors, from Ramit Sethi to Dave Ramsey, all of us can agree. You need to pay off your debt, and you need to have 3 to 6 months of an emergency fund for basic living expenses. You just have to before you really start to invest. Now, yes, you can put $50 or $100 a month into investments. We will talk about having a match with your employer, but at the end of the day, if you have mountains of debt or really just any debt, credit card or otherwise, and you have no cash on hand, what we really don't want to see is you having to pull money out to pay off your credit card debt, pay for your rent, or pay for your monthly addiction to Pizza Hut because you can't afford to actually leave that money in the market, because in order to survive and actually see the results of your investments, you have to pull out. That just is not how we want to do this. So once you've accomplished those two goals, you can really start investing. So once you have both of these goals accomplished, then you can start investing. And hey, I don't want to discourage anyone. If you're in this position where you have a lot of debt or you don't have enough cash on hand to cover 3 to 6 months of living expenses, you can still learn about investing. I don't want you to lose the time by saying, hey, I'll get to that when I can get to it. Try to learn, try to figure out what exactly you want to be investing in, and then set that as a goal to get there by a specific time. Write an actual date and say, hey, I have $10,000 that I need to pay off. I'm going to have it paid off by this time. And also, look, if you're in these areas where you have a lot of debt or you don't have enough cash on hand, it really is an important thing to think about. Imagine your life with no payments, with enough cash on hand where you could get fired tomorrow. That boss starts yapping at you. That person starts yelling at you. The customers are going crazy. If you lost your job or you quit, you could be completely fine and change nothing about your life for 6 months. Just imagine that. That at least for me, I breathed so much easier as soon as I hit that, because I knew I had no debt, I owed no one anything, and I have enough cash on hand where if anything goes wrong tomorrow, I'm going to be okay. And that takes a lot of maturity, a lot of self-discipline, but also it just allows you to have much more peace going forward. And it also gives you the freedom to actually start building up your financial wealth. And that sounds like a beautiful life to me. So let's continue to talk about investing, where we're going to talk about risk tolerance. So let's understand your risk tolerance. Risk tolerance is the level of risk an investor is comfortable with, or their willingness to lose some or all of an investment in exchange for the potential for greater returns. The main factors that you want to consider for your risk tolerance is going to be age, how much cash you have on hand, how long-term are your investments, you know, your personality. Are you Pisces or Virgo? That's really important. What is your astrological sign? I'm just kidding. What I'm trying to say is you want to pick an investment that really suits you. So if you're very risk averse and you want something super safe and easy, find the most well-documented funds, the things that aren't going to charge you a lot of fees, that are safe, that have good historical markers to look at and see if this is a safe fund for you. And also, if you are more okay with taking riskier investments, I do want to point out, just because something is riskier does not mean the payoff is going to be better than something that is more safer and more historically sound. So that is just something to consider, that just because you are willing to risk it all doesn't mean you should. It doesn't mean the payout is going to be any higher. So just something to consider. Just pick the investments that fit with you. So with all that being said, let's start looking at the actual accounts that you need to invest in. So there's a kind of an order of operations with this. So it goes match, tax advantage account, and then non-tax advantaged account. And all this means is basically match, Roth IRA, and then 401k. Basically, there's a few other accounts that you can consider, but at the end of the day, this is something you need to think about. Is match. Your employer, depending on where you work, might actually give you money if you deposit through a 401k through them. They get tax benefits and you get tax benefits if you go through this process. But not all employers offer that. For example, my job does not offer that. So I don't take advantage of this. But if you can, even if you're in debt, even if you don't have 3 to 6 months yet, it is important that we take advantage of this. And the reason for that is because you cannot go back and get that time. You cannot go back and actually get the benefit of having invested in the market at that time. So it is important. It's basically free money. Take advantage of it. And then that brings us to taxable account, which is where your Roth IRA, for example, the money is taxed going in, so then you can pull it out completely penalty and tax free. And so with that, most people choose a Roth IRA because of the tax implications. However, a tax advantage account like a Roth IRA does have limitations. So for this year, you can only put up to $7,000 in it. Now, for some of you who have never invested before, that just sounds like a lot of money. But broken down, that's about $550 a month, which is fairly possible. $275 a paycheck. Okay, now it seems a little bit more plausible, right? And then we move on to like a 401k. Now, these are going to be where the money is not taxed going in, but it is going to be taxed coming out. So there are some things to consider, and it is kind of up to your long-term financial goals. Are you looking to buy a house? Maybe a 401k is for you. Are you not looking to buy a house and you want to just have the long-term investments? Maybe look into buying specific funds or ETFs and things like that. So that is where we get a little bit more into the gray area of what exactly do you want? What are your financial goals? And I'm going to be making a lot of videos on this. I want to make this an entire playlist where you can go through and you can watch a lot of these and learn what can you invest in. I'm going to talk about specific funds. And hey, if you have a fund that you're a part of, I personally like Vanguard, but if you have Fidelity, Schwab, whatever it might be, Wealthsimple, whatever it is, comment down below so I can look into these funds. I love learning off of what other people have done before and what's working for them. So let me know in the comments down below. So now that you understand that there are loads of options for what you can be investing in, why you need to be investing for the long term, what milestones you need to hit before you actually start investing, and what your risk tolerance is, and the order of the different investment operations and the order of the different investment accounts, now's what we need to do. You need to start. You need to actually find an account, invest money, and start. This is the most important part of this, is you can learn as you go. You can figure out, maybe this account doesn't work for me. Maybe this account works better, but you need to start. Every minute that you wait, every year that goes by, you're leaving millions and millions on the table, potentially. And so it's very important that we start now. And so I want to encourage all of you to check out some links down below, some resources I'll leave down below. And hey, as time goes on, I'm going to be making more videos of actual step how-to guides. I'm going to make some on how I invest my paycheck, making videos on where I'm depositing my money, my financial goals, and also how to figure out what yours are. But if you guys do like this video, comment down below what I should talk about next. Drop a like. It really helps me know that y'all really like these types of videos. And hey, consider subscribing. We're on the road to 1,000. So really do appreciate all of y'all, and I'll see you on the next one. Adios.